Hey everybody, I wanted to try something a bit different today. So here's a story of how this video came about. I bought two Tomahawk, also known as cowboy steaks, from a very good butcher shop a few days prior to Memorial Day, which was May 25th. I cooked one up on May 25th and decided to dry age the other in my basement fridge. Well, as the weeks and months went by, I forgot about the steak for a while. Then there were times I just didn't want to cook. Months go by, and I finally decided that today was the day. So I got out my knives, cutting board, pan, and steak and went at it. For those who have never seen a tomahawk steak before, it's a ribeye with the rib bone still attached. Think of it like a lamb lollipop, but with a cow. Anyway, these things are huge, as you can see in this comparison photo with my forearm. The cuts I got were 1.5 inches thick when I bought them, and they can be a challenge to cook, but they are extremely delicious. To dry age the cut, I wrapped it in cheesecloth and put it in the fridge with nothing else in it. After cutting all the exterior dried out inedible parts, all I was left with was a steak that could fit in the palm of my hand. This is what ended up happening. Okay, so I've got a 196-day-old tomahawk steak, which I butchered. You can see it's gotten very small. And we are going to be cooking that in my cast iron pan, which is getting hot right now. It's about halfway there to warmed up. The ingredients I'm going to use, I got some garlic, rosemary from my tree out back, got about a tablespoon of butter, and my olive oil. In addition to all that, I got my little tray set up. I actually used this to catch drippings, but there were none. All I used was cheesecloth, wrapped the ribeye, tomahawk steak, put it in the fridge in my basement, had nothing else in there. When I opened it up, took a whiff, it smells like blue cheese, so I see that's a good thing from doing my research. I've got my aluminum foil there, which I'm going to use to wrap it up once it's cooked. I'm only going to use my cast iron pan. Okay, now that my pan has heated up quite a bit, I'm going to add some olive oil. I know I should use something with a higher smoke point, but I'm going to add some of that. I'm going to put my butter. Trying to do this with my cell phone and actually cook, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, I know. And this is going to splatter all over the place, so I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to let that melt a little bit. Alright, now that that's melted, I'm going to pray this actually works. Oh, I hope I don't get burned. Huh. I don't know if that's a good or a bad sign, but there is absolutely no sizzle. Move around the pot a little bit. It's going to smoke like crazy in here. Hopefully the alarms don't go off. Make sure to turn your vent on before you do any of this. So I just turned it over, as you can... There you go. You can see now that it's got a nice char on one side. I'm going to char it all over, and then I'm going to bake it in the oven at 450 degrees for a little while. There we go. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so I took it out. It's resting for a second. I'm going to put it in the oven in just a minute. Okay, so I put a little bit more butter in there. I'm going to mix it around a little bit. I'm going to throw some garlic in there in just a second. There we go, some garlic. And I want to put the garlic right in the middle. We'll put the rosemary right there. I'm going to fry that rosemary up. I'm going to place the steak right on top of the garlic. I just want that garlic smell to permeate into the steak a little bit. And then when this rosemary is nice and fried, there we go. I'm going to put that right on top of my steak, give it a little bit of rosemary flavor. I'm going to put this bad boy in, and I'm going to let it cook in the oven for a little bit. So right now I've got my steak in the oven. I'm going to leave it there for a few more minutes, but instead of the tin foil, I'm just going to put it on this plate and cover it with aluminum foil instead of putting it in the pan like I said before. Alright, now it's time to take our steak out of the oven, and I hope it's not charred like that rosemary is. Take off my glove. Ugh. Oops, sorry. There you go. Shaky, shaky, shaky. And we'll let that sit for a few minutes. The outside is very hard. And I'm going to go clean up the pan while this rests for about 5 minutes. So after cutting it up a bit, I found that some of it was just fat and really I don't even want to try it. And the other part, which you can see on the right hand side of the plate, is what may be edible. I'm not entirely sure. It has an extremely strong blue cheese, nutty kind of aroma to it, which I believe dry-aged beef is supposed to have, but it was really tough to cut into. I don't think a steak knife would have done it, so I took out my sharp slicer, my 6-inch, and even with that it was tough. So as you can see, it kind of has the consistency of like a beef jerky, which I really shouldn't be too surprised with. But oh my gosh, I smell that blue cheese. It's just everywhere. It's permeating throughout the entire kitchen. So let me give it a shot and see what happens, and hope I don't fall ill, because that would be bad. So this is the piece I'm going to try. It's very chewy, very dry. Blech. Nope, not a fan. Let's try a piece that not quite as chewy. Oh. Oh, that was not pleasant at all. So maybe I overdid it, or maybe I didn't cook it the right way. But excuse me. But it's got this really nutty. Now the aftertaste I got is really nutty and blue cheesy, and it's like covering my entire mouth. It's a real mouthy kind of feel. Imagine if you like ate a tablespoon of butter, and that oil, that mouthy feel you would get from that. That's what I got in my mouth right now. It's not going away. So I'm gonna grab a glass of water and maybe brush my teeth, because this was definitely a failure, but it's nice to try. Alright, now that I've rinsed my mouth out a little bit, it's not quite as bad, the aftertaste. But here's what I've learned. You really can't dry age a small cut of beef. You need something really large. So a single tomahawk steak, even though it was really expensive, this one cost me in excess of $50. And unfortunately, it's not edible. It's too dry. I think I aged it too long to be palatable. So that's what we're going to end up with. And now I have a cast iron pan that needs to cool down for a few hours before I could clean that up as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hopefully you learned something from my debacle.
And that's my little one screaming in the other room. He's being weird, like 2-year-olds are supposed to be. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.